Hello. How is everybody doing? How's things? How's life? How's the universe? How has your week been? Um, um, there we go. Hello. How's everybody doing? How's things? Um, uh, so I can be later, maybe not then. Yes, I saw John's message, an hour and a half ago. um, I guess we'll see if he does appear late or not. Oh, I was wondering what that was. I have a magnifying glass with an LED in it for soldering. Great. But I was wondering why I had a UFO in frame. Hello Simon. Hello Ish. How you guys doing? How's things? How's life? How's the universe? How's your week been? Yeah. How is everybody doing? What have I been up to? Developing. Developing lots and lots of things. As always, to be honest. And yeah. I think I mentioned last week, but I redesigned the OSRTT Pro to use a much bigger chip than previously. So instead of an absolutely tiny, I had my face out of focus, instead of an absolutely tiny little square chip that's impossible to solder, there is a much more normal sized chip, which does a lot better. It means I don't hate producing them. So yeah, that's one of the things I've been doing this week. I've been tinkering around with that's an entire microcontroller, like just the. In fact, it's actually a wireless microcontroller, kind of insane, with a USB-C port. So I've been playing with that. I've been developing a new website that you'll see hopefully soon. No guarantees on exactly when, but hopefully soon. And I did what you call it? Tomorrow I'm visiting a very special guest. Hello, John. And yeah, your message unfortunately was filtered. At least, I mean, your first one came through. Anything between your first one and the one that I just read out loud, no. Hello, Zig. How you doing, man? How's things? Just did more training in board repairs. That was fun and exhausting. Nice. What, like motherboards or something else entirely? The USB-C micro thing looks cool. It is. It's a NRF 52840 from Nordic Semiconductor. It's the same microcontroller that you'll find in people like Corsair and Razer's wireless peripherals. That's what does not only the like main processing, but also the wireless communication to their dongles. Yeah. Motherboards, GPU, and network cards, etc. Nice. What sort of stuff would you be repairing on those? I repaired a graphics card actually. My Founders Edition RX 480, my like reference card from AMD, like press sample. The tiniest capacitor, surface mount capacitor, fell off. So I resoldered it on. Card still works. Happy days. But yeah, what sort of stuff would you expect to be fixing on motherboards? Because I assume, dead chipsets are dead chipsets, but, like fan driver ICs and op amps and maybe even up to like the LAN and audio codecs and stuff like that. I could see. Surface mount stuff, yeah. Through hole stuff, rather. Um, ba 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 ba. YouTube has added, so there's options for community moderation, which, I mean, Ish and Chris are community moderators, but then there's also toggle moderation activity, which, as far as I'm aware, I toggled it on, so, oh no, I it apparently turned itself off. So if it does, like, if YouTube does block a message for whatever, I should still be able to see it and allow it. I get why they turned it off, because for the, like, 3 people who actually stream on YouTube that aren't, like, you know, crypto scams, you know, having a lot of the spam messages tend to be quite spammy, in the sense that you don't really want to read them, and especially in this format where my entire, you know, shtick is reading the chat. To read something that's less than savory, I suppose, can be off-putting sometimes. So I clearly I'm too comfortable in front of a camera. So I was on a video call earlier this week, and it was pointed out that I look at the camera when I'm talking to the person, like to you know, you, and most people, I realize, don't. Most people look at the screen, not at the person, or not at the camera. Like, I also look at the screen because I'm actively reading your comments, but, like, if I'm monologuing, I do look at you. And I think some people find that a bit weird. But then again, so am I, so you get what you get. Diagnostics to repair any and everything, including BGAs, SOCs, lag replacement. Fair. I was trying to work out what lag would mean, but yeah, fair enough. Nice. That is very cool. YouTube getting to be too sensitive, or I'm just too old. No, it's fine. YouTube is always a bit sensitive in its moderation. Not weird at all. I enjoy staring into those beautiful eyes. Oh, I thank you, Matt. Merda. Andy staring into his marketing contact's eyes as they chat. Joe's starting to feel a little less comfortable in the relationship. Ow, my knee. No, it was actually the person I'm visiting tomorrow, who I'm giving a laptop to. You'll see a video probably not next week at this point, because it's technically sponsored, because Asus sent a like $4.5 grand laptop. But maybe not this Monday coming, but next Monday, maybe? We'll see. Oh, LGA, right, yeah. I probably should have thought of that, but fair enough, nice. I mean, that's kind of impressive. I take it it's not, you know, hand reworking those would be BGA ovens or something. But nice. Hello, Budget Bench, how you doing? How's things? What was I gonna say? I got nothing. I genuinely can't remember. I can't remember anything that I've done this week. Still rocking the white shirt? Yes! I still haven't changed. What computer case is that in the background? Is it a Fantex? If so, which one? Good eye, it is. It's the Fantex Evolve X in white. It's possibly, well, I don't tend to look at cases very much because I don't have enough room and they're just not that interesting to me, so meh. But as it stands, I think that's still my favorite case. Like, my PC is built into my desk. I did an entire, actually several videos, but that is, if I didn't have a PC in my desk, that would probably be what do you call it? The one that it would be in. It's really easy to build in. It's very spacious without being massive. Yes, you can technically put two systems in it. It would be a very tight squeeze. The second system goes right up at the top. It's an ITX motherboard on a little tray, and then you have to use Fantex's Revolt power supply line, or like Revolt X, I think it is, the one that can power two systems, right? Because there isn't space for a second power supply in there. So yes, but also not really. You wouldn't put a second system in it if you're being realistic. But you can, and that's quite cool. Andy did make a bajillion videos across 2 channels, then spend 2 days in the doctors being patched halfway back to normal. I spent a lot of days at the doctors. Yeah. Can't remember anything either. I went brain dead at training, as I do it nearly every year. Fair. Understandable. I've experienced that feeling. Where is a good site to find cases that use 200mm/140mm fans? Usual suspects, hard to find larger sized fans. Maybe MATX and ATX. Yeah, especially 200mm fans are fairly rare to find in cases these days. They can be found, but it's generally more specific to they tend to be quite obvious when they do use them, and it's a bit of an older style generally. The sort of like 2012-ish era had quite a lot of cases with 1 or 2 200mm fans, but nowadays a lot less common. I think Cooler Master still tends to use 200mm fans. 140mm fans, I would imagine, are more popular, although 120 is still very much the standard. But most cases support 140 generally. Like all of the mounts, I think every single mount in the Evolve X supports 140. The back definitely does. The front, I'm pretty sure, does. I think you can have 3 140s in the front, and then depending on your configuration and radiators and things, you can have 3 140s in the top as well. Yeah, but bug for cooling, I just stick an MATX board on top of the case. That's one way to do it, yeah. Invasion. I built my own PC a couple of years ago, but when I build another one, when GTA 6 comes out, I want you to build me a PC and I'll pay you and I'll give you extra because you're one of the best guys on YouTube. I've been following you for years, but it was on my old account that I can't log into. Well, thank you very much. Run that by me when GTA 6 comes out and we'll see. My 4U chassis runs 140, my old Corsair 520D or whatever it was, but it's hard to search OCK or eBuyer or whatnot by fan size. That is true, yeah. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that every case other than ITX cases that you'll find will support 140, no problem. 200mm, that's more specialist. And I would imagine that like using Google to find cases that use 200mm fans, find the cases and then find where they're available, if that makes sense, rather than find the cases where they're available. The number of times that I find that using Google to search something instead of a site's own search bar way more often than I would like to admit. 200 is really not worth it, IMO, and not enough pressure on the 200mm. I would agree with you. I think there's a reason why most people stopped using them, or most like case designers stopped speccing them. Yeah, it's like back in the 2012-ish days, I definitely I don't think I had, but a friend had a case with a 200mm fan in the front, and it was useless. Actually, I think I have a 200mm fan upstairs somewhere, and it's useless. Maybe if it span way faster, but again, not worth it. Like, to be clear, like larger fans can work. You know, your car's, the fan strapped to your car's radiator is larger than 200mm, and that works just fine. But that's because you don't have the noise constraints, and it's a massive and much more power hungry motor. So yeah. But yeah, 140 is a nice middle ground. I would agree with you. 120 or 140 are fantastic. Ryzen, there's a controller I tried to get called the T28. Did you ever test this controller? How come I can't get it anywhere? If so, it's an Android /PS4/PS5 controller, kind of a clone, as it looked very much like a PS5 controller. One, no, I don't test controllers basically at all. Two, how come you can't get it? I've never heard of it, I'm afraid. I can only surmise that, especially if it is a like PlayStation clone, there could be potentially copyright or trademark violations at play. It could also just be like stock levels and not being sold through normal distributors, let's say. So that might also be a problem, but yeah, I'm afraid controllers are not something that I have. Like, I've got plenty of experience using controllers, but I'm not a controller reviewer, let's say, so not tried many different ones. I had a case way back, probably 15 years back, that had a single 200mm fan on the top for exhaust. I want to say the Cooler Master Half XB had that. Pretty sure it was useless. Like, cool, but also, you know, the heat's rising anyway, so I guess if you can help it along slightly, okay, but even, like, you don't get much pressure and you really don't get much airflow either, so. The videos I saw of it claims it's the best budget controller in the market. Nice, fair play. Like I said, I'm afraid that it's not something I've either heard of, nor used, nor nowhere to find. Right. But those old transparent fans with weird blue LEDs were sort of cool. I believe Cool Master had something weird in the 220 to 240mm, but with 140 mounting holes. I think I know what you're talking about, weirdly enough. Yeah. Just get an 80mm Bloomatron, 11,000 RPM, 102 decibel, 3 amp draw, problem solved. My ears don't work perfectly, but they sure as shit work better than they would if I had Bloomatrons in here. What would you do? Buy a 6950 XT for €775 or buy a 7900 XT for €880? Oh gosh. In terms of performance, I think the 7900 XT is faster. Generally, it's probably not that much faster though. And what AMD has this thing with their drivers where they tend to make a product that is not very well supported by the drivers at launch, but there's quite the curve of performance gains over time, right? So, you know, with a like 6900 XT, it was perfectly decent on launch, but a few months after, like 6 months after, and even a year after, the performance generally gets better over time, which is sort of the opposite of what you expect. So with the 7900 XT, I could expect the same sort of curve, I guess, where the 6950 XT is likely, you know, sort of about as good performance as it will get. whereas the 17900 XT might be able to improve at least slightly over time. Whether that's worth the performance, no, the price difference for an extra €100. It's quite hard to say. As a percentage, that's not. It's like what, 10% more, but as an amount of money, it's €100 more, which is more considerable than you might think. According to Hardware Unbox, it's 13% faster in 4040p. Okay, 13% faster for 10% more money, and there's a chance that it might get better as well. Okay, I'm sold. Do it. Yeah. Since you're talking about fans, are there any Dyson bladeless fans for PC? Would they even be powerful enough? Imagine not having to clean off the dust in a bladeless fan PC. So here's the thing. A Dyson bladeless fan is not bladeless. It just has a Blowimatron fan in the base and then air channels around the ring. It's basically just a ducted fan. So you still have the fan blades that you need to clean. Like, you can put a filter on it, but you can put a filter on normal fans. So the only difference would be, in this case, you have a box outside your case or something that has vents that go into the case, which would be a cool idea in terms of being able to direct airflow quite specifically instead of PC fans that generally just waft air over things. But yeah. And John on Twitch says they don't have the static pressure to force air through the case, which is also a good point. Andy's a fanless fan, has a fan in it. Andy, a fanless fan, has a fan in it too? Too many spelling mistakes for me to understand what you mean. And a fanless fan has a fan in it too. Same fan as the Dyden, different name. Nice. I reckon that the tubular or cylindrical fans would have good static pressure to design a weird case around it. The AC-S have them, and a lot of fins as well. I can see what you mean. Yeah, probably. It's probably something that's not like, I can imagine, do you know what? I reckon this is like a 2008 CES custom PC at a trade show type thing, Yeah. Is the 5800X 3D powerful enough for 4070 Ti? Yes. The 5800X 3D is, at least at the time of the stream, is still one of the most powerful gaming CPUs on the market. The new 7th gen, or 7000 series, because it's not 7th generation, because AMD can't count. Those, 7900X 3D and 7950X 3D have just come out yesterday. So those are, in the right circumstances, faster and a decent bit faster. But the lower graphics performance you have, the less of an improvement you'll see. Most of those benchmarks are with the 4090, so with the 4070 Ti, which is basically a 4060. That is, it's a great pair. Basically, it's a great match. You'll have a great time with it, no matter what resolution you're playing at, and pretty much no matter what game you're playing to. It's one of the best combos you can get right now. the 7800X 3D, whenever that becomes available, will be faster, but the amount of performance that you're going to get, like, your CPU doesn't affect gaming performance that much. When you look at benchmarks from people like Hardware Box to Games Nexus or Linus, whoever, me, a lot of the settings that we as reviewers pick are designed to show you the difference between the chips, but they're not necessarily realistic settings in the sense that, you know, people are going to have a 4090 and they're going to play Tomb Raider at 1080p on like low settings just to like max out the CPU. I also don't know about price, actually, now I think about it. You will get more performance from the 7800X 3D when that's available. If it's available in the next like week or two, definitely wait. If it's more like a month away, I would probably... it's a harder decision to make, I would say. But your CPU still doesn't make that much of a difference in your gaming performance, especially at like 1440p. So, yeah. The impression I got from the reviews is wait for the 7800X 3D. Yes, but also it depends on price, and it depends on what sort of settings you're playing at. Like I said, you are going to get more performance with a 7800X 3D compared to 5800X 3D. The difference is, you know, things like price. Actually, that's a good point. Motherboards, motherboards and RAM. You know, if you already have, if you got a 3600 or something and you're looking to upgrade, then it makes way more sense to get a 5800X 3D and enjoy that until it's really worth moving to DDR5 and to a load of other stuff. But if you're building from scratch, then it's a bit more of a difficult balance. So when's the new RTX 5000 series coming out? Will I be able to afford it? Well, they haven't finished launching the 4000 series yet, so probably a while. I'm really so happy with the 5800X 3D. I've tuned it at 3.8 gigahertz, CL14 RAM, and it's blazing fast at everything. Nice. That's good. That's a decent configuration and a decent, setup. Nice. And pairing it with the 1700X T is probably going to be decent too. Granted, I'm not upgrading anything anytime soon. Still using a 6-year-old pair of Xeons. Nice. Nice. I mean, I'm using a 5900X and I'm perfectly happy with it. So, yeah. I might have mildly fried it with my old 10 gig NIC, so depending on how stable things or how unstable things get, I might swap to something else. But until that day comes, I'm leaving this alone. So yeah. By the way, Andy, can you talk a bit about DDR5 current state of things, kind of out of the loop, but I heard Aussie Steve talking something about DDR5 7200 mega transfers. Well, that would be impressive. Honestly, not sure, because with the main thing with DDR5 and like RAM speed in general is that it doesn't really matter how fast the actual RAM can get to. It matters more about what the CPU can handle and what performance you can get out of the CPU. Intel is generally the one that offers better performance for the the RAM speed. Ryzen generally ends up being more RAM speed limited, I would say. So yeah, it depends on what chip you're using and whatnot, but yeah. Honestly, DDR5 is so expensive, motherboards on top. Yeah. Yeah, said something like that about Intel and said AMD the limit is 6,000 or 6,200. That sounds about right. Yeah. No need to upgrade for a year or so. Also, I'd agree. I'm upgrading to 14th gen when it comes out in my main rig. Nice. I wonder if Intel is actually going to keep the same socket for the first time in decades. Because they normally are very much 2 chips and then they're done. They don't like to do what AMD does with rolling compatibility, which, to be fair, I can imagine was a massive headache for AMD. Having a B350 board running a 1500X or a 5800X 3D. I can understand why that was a bit of a pain for them to facilitate, but at the same time, from a consumer perspective, that's exactly what we want. So, yeah. I'm running a 10850K at 4.8, 3070 gaming at 3440 by 1440. Very happy with the frame rate. Nice. That's a very decent setup. For sure. And a very immersive gaming experience being ultrawide. Yeah, Infinity Fabric is limited to 6,000, but can improve secondary timings. Yeah, that's what I. That was my. What I was going on without saying it because I forgot the words. If that was not clear enough. Yeah, AMD tends to be a lot more limited in frequency benefit, like frequency increase benefit on memory, thanks to things like the Infinity Fabric. They do have the different modes, which does help, but yeah. Whereas Intel tends to be more comfortable both pushing it harder and getting more out of it. Thank you for following. Still on an 8700K DDR4 3200. Spent all my money on the bike, so maybe 3 or 4 more years before an upgrade. No regrets. Don't blame you. I hope you're having fun and staying safe. I'm actually excited for 240Hz OLED, but after seeing it so dim, no thanks. Need a bright monitor at that price range. Yeah, well, so the thing with OLEDs in general is that the brightness is what kills them, right? And so the adaptive brightness limiters that they have are very much to keep the panel alive, but it's also really annoying. When I had the Aorus F043U in, which is basically an LG C1 panel, the adaptive brightness limiter on that was so aggressive that it was like not enjoyable to like watch content on, because you'd be like, you know, you watch something and then all of a sudden, you know, especially if it's full screen, you get a bright scene and then all of a sudden it's very clear and quite quick. I think the rate at which it changes was too fast. And so you can see it very quickly dim down, and then it would switch to a dark scene and you could see it very quickly ramp back up. And it was just awful. I think at smaller screen sizes like 27 or 32-inch OLEDs, I can see that being more enjoyable. And for adaptive brightness limiters that aren't quite as aggressive as that, and the newer panel techs, which tend to be a little bit brighter in general, rather than like 80 nits at the peak, it's more like 150 or something. So, you know, from that respect, that's fine. To be honest, I don't run my monitors at more than like 50% brightness, at least how I have them. The fact that my window is over there, and so sunlight doesn't ever directly hit them, and I'm also not looking at sunlight ever. I'm looking at a wall. So I can see this being pretty decent. I think the last time I measured them, my screens are generally below 200 nits. So as long as an OLED can mostly sit at about 200 nits, I should be fine with a nice OLED. But I can also understand how for a lot of people that's not going to be an option. Most OEM companies over-engineer their power supplies on workstations due to lifespan and uptime. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, a lot of OEM stuff in general for server grade stuff is very robust, like impressively robust, because they don't want it to fail. They don't want, even things like the representation, the what do you call it? Not thought crime. God. Mind share and like brand loyalty, as it were. If you are a sysadmin who has purchased a load of, I don't know, Dell servers and they constantly go down for various reasons, you're going to that's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth. And then when it comes to replacing those servers, you're not going to go to Dell, you'll go to someone else. Supermicro, or all I can think of, Gigabyte maybe. So yeah, I can very much believe it. I still think OLED is best used at TV size. I would agree. I think it depends. I think because we haven't seen many small OLEDs, like, I mean, your phone's an OLED, but monitor OLED. We haven't seen that many, so the quirk and features aren't quite as apparent as things like TVs. But for TV size, they're fantastic, and if I could have one, I would. Well, I could have one, but also I have a perfectly functioning TV, and unless someone like LG wants to send me a CX or C2 or whatever the newest fanciest one is, I don't fancy buying one. I also don't use my TV that often, so fine. Hello, John Tells. I got offered a 7950 lapped for £250. I can sell my current 5600X setup and add 260 to change platform. What do you suggest? I mean, that sounds like a pretty damn decent deal. You're going from a 6-core to a 16-core. You're going from Ryzen 5000 to Ryzen 7000. And you're getting a lapped one, which means that it's actually going to have some good temperatures. So yeah, that sounds like an absolutely insane offer. A £250 lapped 7950. I would be concerned that thing even functions and it's not just the £250 paperweight at that price. But yeah, I mean, if that is the price and it all works, then do it. Waiting for a 32-inch 1440p OLED, maybe the end of the year, early next year. Fingers crossed. I'm sure there either are or are soon to be 32-inch OLEDs. I know 27-inch OLEDs are on the way with Asus and Acer. Yeah. He's going to demo it fully before the sale. Then go for it. Do it. I'm still not sold on OLED for my computer use. My monitors spend most of their time with a static picture, so much that even LCDs get image retention for me. Actually, with my vertical monitor, it's a TN panel. I basically only have Discord or emails or Signal on that, and especially with Discord and the icons, it gets burning. Like, it goes away after a while, whereas OLED doesn't. But yeah, I think they're 4K. The 27-inch ones are 1440p OLEDs, but 32 might be 4K. Ow. Yeah, vertical for me too. Browser exclusive. Use monitor. Exclusive use monitor. Nice. Yeah, fair. I can kind of agree with you. Especially like, the more I think about it, the more that the majority of the content that stays on my displays is pretty static. So yeah, maybe that's not quite a good idea after all. Question about vertical monitors. Can you snap to the top and bottom half in Windows? Bottom doesn't work. Yeah, so Windows sucks. Full stop. No, Windows sucks for vertical monitors. You can still only snap horizontal, like that way, not that way. That way. You can use Power Toys to create fancy zones, which is what I use. And I'm pretty sure there are other window management utilities that you can get that I think are free and open source as well, that would probably even do that better. So yeah, work doesn't allow me to have many apps. Yeah, I'm afraid not. You can only snap left and right, basically. Linux is the best at that sort of stuff. I don't disagree. Yeah, it's a shame that I'm both accustomed to Windows and it is what most of my software works on. Yeah, Windows sucks. I just use the entire monitor for the browser window. Fair. It's pretty similar to my vertical monitor use. Yeah. (1440p 27-inch). Not quite that good. It's 1080p 24-inch. But fair. Do you stream on Twitch? Yes, I'm actually streaming this on Twitch right now. Not. I don't stream on Twitch like a normal person though. I stream on Twitch. Doing this, it's Joe streamed, because once upon a time YouTube was terrible for live streams, and the only way that you could get a reliable stream was to also stream with Twitch. Do I play any games? I used to, and then I started running 4 businesses, and so not that often anymore. I've not had anything that's really caught my attention and that like my friend groups are also playing. I tend to only really play games, like single player games, on my own, or I play multiplayer games with when my friends are playing multiplayer games. But there isn't anything that has caught our attention as yet. Have you tried the Intel art cards? I have not. I've not had my hands on one. I've definitely heard mixed things, and obviously improving over time, but it's I've not had them in as yet. What happens if you put RAM in slot 1 and 3 instead of 2 and 4? Well, it will still work fine, right? I mean, you can put RAM in slots 1 and 2 and it will still boot, it will still work, but you're essentially losing performance and, I guess, latency to some degree, I think. Basically, like, putting in slots 1 and 3 or 2 and 4 makes it dual channel, and so your CPU is accessing both sticks at the same time rather than over 2 different channels. And then on the 2 and 4 instead of 1 and 3 front, or vice versa, I think that it's 2 and 3 are always mapped to the first channel, I think. And so that's where the CPU will check first, and then it will check the other ones, I think. It's basically just the design choice preference, but no matter what configuration you put the RAM in, as long as it's all connected properly, it's all still going to work, it's all still going to boot. You just might be losing some amount of performance depending on your configuration. Hello Chris, how you doing? Sometimes he plays a tiny bit of PUBG, very sometimes. Agreed. My Threadripper is really picky about running in the wrong sockets. Previous AM4 board, Z97, Z79, all others were fine with whichever sockets. Look at the motherboard for suggestions. Yeah, well, Threadripper is because you have a first gen Threadripper. You have a 1950X, or is it 1920? But either way, first gen Threadripper especially is, I mean, even second gen Threadripper isn't that much better. But what's that based on? Gen 1, which it was already pretty picky for his memory controller. And yeah, so I can only imagine what Threadripper's like. I want to learn cybersecurity or programming. Which would you suggest? Well, programming is probably easier to get into in terms of a career, in the sense that there is quite a lot of demand right now, and it is something that you can very easily pick up yourself, create a portfolio of work, and use that portfolio to get the job. Cybersecurity tends to be more not necessarily difficult, but it is a bit more niche. It's a bit harder to, like, build a portfolio of cybersecurity work you've done when, you generally need to be hired to do that work. And the other thing is that depending on what sort of cybersecurity you want to do, you might also, it might behoove you to have, like, web development skills to then use. If you understand how Node and Express and whatever various backends are used, and God forbid you're like Facebook and still use PHP, or Java backends, whatever. If you understand how those things work, and then how the front end frameworks work, like React and Vue and Angular and all the other ones, they having an understanding of those is generally what enables you to then work out what could be wrong with them, or work out what problems that they may have. But that's more sort of like cybersecurity in terms of pen testing and finding bugs and deer days and whatnot, rather than cybersecurity consultant, where you're going to businesses and mitigating their cybersecurity risks, let's say. But you can't really do that without experience, so it comes back to, you should probably learn programming first. It's also something that's relatively easy to pick up and do yourself, etc. And then go from there. just build a portfolio of every UK government office you've gained illegal access to. I'm not sure that's legal. I haven't thought my weekend through well. I'm taking the train to my family's house to fix and take home my MG, but I'm stopping off at my mate's to give him an Easter Island head statue on a train. Best of luck. Thanks, I feel old at 34, hopefully not too late. No, you're all good. I mean, I say this as a 26-year-old, but 34 ain't that old. No, you have plenty of time to develop those skills, and ironically, you might actually find that you have a bit of an easier time with it because you are a bit more older. Jesus Christ, Andrew. A bit older, more experienced, and likely have other, if not directly relevant skills, but, you know, plenty of work experience already, rather than the majority of people who are applying to programming and development jobs who are straight from university and have no real world skills at all and are definitely autistic. So yeah, you're all good. You have plenty of time, my friend. Geez, I'm 53. Am I dead? Lol. I mean, I'm 26 and I feel dead, so I don't know. I hope not, because if you are, then wow. Speaking of being dead, I'm in pain. I'm in quite a few different types of pain, actually. Oh. Joint pain, stomach pain, eye pain, head pain. Got a headache, but that was funnier. Yeah. I'm trying being a Man United fan. Is that a different kind of pain? I take it. I'm sorry. I'm the wrong kind of nerd to like football. You gained some weight over the years. TechteamGB, not a bad thing. Thanks. That's great for my confidence. I like to think that the majority of the weight that I've gained is in muscle mass. Because but yeah. You look very healthy. I promise you I'm not. My heart doesn't work, my eyes don't work, my lungs don't work, because I found out, I had childhood asthma and now it's back. My joints don't work, my stomach doesn't work, my brain doesn't work in a lot of different ways. Really interesting. But I keep positive. Yeah. But yeah, it's fine. I'm busy huffing lead fumes from building the response team, so yeah, man, keep up your positive impact to a lot of us. Well, thanks. Keep up the great work. Thank you. I try. Be the change you want to see, or something. I don't know. Stay hydrated with Seagate brand water. Oh, I've had that for years and it's great. I started designing a latency specific, not response time tool, obviously, because it's latency specific, but a latency tester tool, kind of like LDAT. It's sort of an amalgamation of the response time tool and something like LDAT, but the number of requests that I've had for it to be able to take things like a microphone input instead, so that you can test things like mice, so you can have it audibly hear the click, and then the click sound is what triggers it to start recording the latency, as it were. Yeah, is that the Breadboard project? No, it's a different project, actually. I kind of want to make a Stream Deck, but with mechanical keys instead, which I suppose is basically just a macro pad, but with things like OBS functionality. It's a bit of a pipe dream, but the reason that I'm using the wireless controller, the NRF 52840, is that one, it has a built-in battery charger, which is amazing, and two, it's wireless, which means I can create a sort of local or ad hoc network between that and another one in a sort of dongle, and then make it a wireless pad as well, which would be pretty sweet. What mouse do you recommend that feels good in the hand for gaming and music producing and video editing? So, I'm a bit of a weird case. Obviously, by the fact that I review stuff, I generally have excess of things, mostly that I end up using for testing or whatever else later. But with things like mice and keyboards, you can only use so many of those. But so I actually use a pretty old at this point Logitech MX Master. In fact, you can see how old it is by the wear scar in the left click. And for video editing, for normal web browsing use, and then I use a Razer Naga Trinity because that's what I prefer for comfort for gaming. I think I've had two mice for quite a while, if I'm being honest. It's probably like over 8 years at this point. And I do very much like it, that balance. But if I was gonna have one, gosh, probably like the Logitech G603. I think it's wireless with a single AA battery. It's not that heavy, but it's quite relatively ergonomic. It has a few buttons. Has the infinite scroll wheel, if I remember rightly, which I really like. And yeah, something like that, I think. Because the like super gamer focused ones, the ultra lightweight, whatever, they are really cool. And for gaming, I completely understand using them. But for comfort, especially for like things like video editing and music production, you generally want a more comfortable mouse because you're going to be resting your hand on it for a long time. And so that's where things like a MX Master, the 3 specifically for this one, is better for me, at least personally. Ollie, what video games are you currently enjoying, if any? At the very moment, I've been absolutely inundated with doing projects and things. So the answer is none, really. I really like, in fact, what was it? Infraspace. It's a single player game, but sort of kind of a simulator, kind of world building, kind of like City Skylines, but space themed. And with some interesting mechanics and things, which I quite like. So that's the one that I've played the most of recently. I've also been playing the Steam Deck, which so things like No Man's Sky, the Pokemon Sword, and Art of Rally, absolutely beautiful game. Yuck. Hello. How you doing? How's things? Although I just realised what the time is. 2 minutes, give or take. So if you have any tech questions you want burningly answered, be quick. Yeah. What you got? I was going to say, definitely keep an eye out. I think there will be another stream before the video that I'm thinking of comes out, but I have a very special video that I'll be filming tomorrow with a very special artist, in fact. So make sure you stick around for that one. That's going to be pretty good. But yeah, that is pretty much it. Unless I see anything else pop up that desperately needs answering, I will leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. These are every Thursday night at 8 PM UK time, so if you want to pop back next week to ask any more tech questions, if you think of any in the meantime, feel free to do so. That's kind of it. If you want to support my idiocy, there's links in the description, YouTube, Patreon, all that sort of stuff, and hoodies and t-shirts like this one that are actually far too warm today. Yeah, that's kind of it. So yeah, stay safe, have a good week, and I'll catch you all tomorrow for a video, Monday for a video, and next week for a stream. Bye guys.